0 or 1.
Yeah, there's some car.
There you go.
Yeah, you're the third person to warn me, so
Make sure it's pushed
it will probably happen by the end of the night.
Push it in, yeah, push in that same thing.
Go to lock it in.
It locks it in, otherwise you do one of these. Literally go all the way over.
Yeah, maybe that should be like the first on the agenda. How to work the chairs.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is our December 11th, 2017 meeting. For the record, I'd like to note that Mrs. Hennessy is not here because she had a death in her immediate family over the weekend. I'd like to ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please, let's have a moment of silence for Janet Garagliano, who was a former principal at Jonathan Law High School, who passed away over the weekend. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. So, good evening and welcome to our first meeting with the new board and our last meeting before the holidays. So, happy holidays in advance to everybody. And I have the pleasure of introducing the Jonathan Law Choral Ensemble, led by Ms. Kelly Jones this evening, for our entertainment delight. And I'm sure they will not disappoint. So, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Away in a manger, no crib for a bed, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay, the little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. La da 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 da
is arrangement by the Pentatonics, who actually just performed in Uncasville this past weekend. So if you ever get a chance to hear them, you should definitely go and hear them. They're an a cappella group that won the sing-off a while ago, and they've become very famous. Our next piece is going to be sang also at our winter concert, which is this Wednesday, so go off, come. That was rearranged by the Pentatonics again. I'm a big fan.
little heads from falling in the snow. And I turned round and there you go. And Michael, you would fall and turn the white snow red as strawberries in the summertime.
We are very blessed with our music program here in Milford, so it's really come a long way. All right, we'll move on to student staff recognition. Dr. Fieser.
So we have one student that we're going to recognize this evening. We were supposed to have two swimmers from Foreign High, but there was a conflict, so they weren't able to come. But we are thrilled to be able to recognize Jeremy Heroes. Did I do well? Come on up. Jeremy's an 8th grader at East Shore Middle School, and with him today is his principal. And I'm having a senior moment. Holy cow, sorry. And also his teacher, Megan Kim. Both of them are in attendance tonight, so we're thrilled about that. So let me tell you about this young man who won the, quote, Low Cool Gov contest. Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, or CCM, is the state's largest nonpartisan organization of municipal leaders representing 165 of Connecticut's 169 towns and cities. For the first time ever, the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities actively entered into the arena of trying to engage Connecticut's youth in their local government. To do this, CCM sponsored a contest open to all Connecticut public middle and high school students. There would only be 2 winners statewide, and the winner of the middle school category is Jeremy. Again, 8th grader. Megan Kim, raise your hand, Megan. An enrichment teacher at East Shore introduced the contest, sponsored by CCM, to her enrichment class, in which students would address the theme of the contest, what's cool about local government? So, low, cool, gov contest, what's cool about local government? In order to help the students learn about our local government and what could possibly make it cool, input and presentations were given to the group by School Resource Officer Emily Mills. Mayor Blake came one day, State Representative Pam Staneski came, and I actually had an opportunity to spend an hour and a half with the students, which was really enlightening to me. Students could choose to submit an essay, poem, photo, video, painting, multimedia project, or any other medium that would be appropriate. Jeremy's submission was his artistic interpretation of how local government impacts our daily lives. And I'm sorry we don't have a copy of it because we would have put it up on a picture of it, we would have posted it. Perfect. His entry was judged by how close to the theme his piece was in its originality and its creativity. We do have a picture of it?
I do.
Oh, well then we should put it up. And so while Mrs. Griffin is doing that, on November 28th at the CCM's annual meeting, which was held at the Foxwoods Resort Convention Center, Jeremy was presented with a $500 scholarship from CCM.
All right.
On hand to present the award to Jeremy were Mayor Ben Blake and Senator Gail Schlossberg. In addition to receiving this award, Jeremy and his parents also received a complimentary overnight stay at the Foxwood Resort that evening. Not bad. So Jeremy, do you want to talk a little bit about what this represents? Can you come over and just maybe describe it to folks?
Okay.
Putting you on the spot,
So, it's like basically what we get because of local government, like, you know, like police, like firemen, playgrounds, health, you know, the money, like funding us, and then I put like schools as large because it affects me greatly because, you know, I get to get an education. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love the artwork.
So,
Very nice.
a job well done, certainly a source of pride for the Milford Public Schools, and we congratulate you again, Jeremy.
How you doing? Congratulations.
Thank you. I just wanted to go with the simple design, but not really anyone. I don't like it.
We'll work on it. Okay, fair enough.
Good, thank you so much. Now we move on to student reports, and I believe Corin goes first tonight.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I think good evening. We realize that there's a lot of new faces, so it's okay if everybody like to go around, and I think everybody's going to just introduce ourselves.
Oh, sure.
Sure. I'm ready. How you doing? Adam, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Erin. Nice to meet you, Max.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
See you again. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, so Warren hosted a student versus faculty volleyball game this past month to raise money for the United Way. Students of all grades participated in the game, and the game unfortunately ended with a faculty repeat in a sweep in 3 sets. The game raised over $900 and all proceeds went to the United Way.
So the Habitat for Humanities held a drive this past month in honor of Veterans Day, and the club was able to collect 248 items for to donate to Homes for the Brave.
Leaders from the Foreign's DECA Club, an international organization of marketing, finance, and entrepreneurship, students collected items to assist those homeless or less fortunate. Simple items like toothbrushes, toothpaste, combs, brushes, shampoo, deodorant, water bottles, socks, and hats were just a few of the many necessities that were assembled and donated to our local Bethel shelter to be distributed to needy individuals in the community.
The Model UN Club went to a one-day conference at the University of New Haven on Sunday, December 3rd. The club was very successful at this conference, coming away with more than 10 awards in total. And as a team, Foreign was one of 3 schools chosen as the outstanding delegation attending the conference.
In sports news, on November 27th, Coach Bavino and the Foreign football team were given an award from the New Haven Football Officials Association. This award is given annually to the coach whose program best represents the clean play and sportsmanship which is expected in each game that they play in all levels of competition.
The girls swim and dive team finished their season as the SEC Division II regular season champions, which was back-to-back in 2016 and 2017.
Foreign begins its winter sports season on Wednesday, December 13th, with the Foreign Wrestling home opener. We are looking forward to a successful and healthy season this year, and we hope you all come out and support all the teams.
Ava Corsi was honored at the CIAC Swimming and Diving All-State Banquet with the CISCA Scholar Athlete Award. To be considered for this award, the recipient must be a senior who has earned All-State for that season and must meet specific academic criteria before being voted on by a committee of coaches. Ava is the first foreign girl to receive this honor since its inception in 1980.
In academic news, the Foreign Music Department had a very successful day at the CMEA Southern Regional Honors Festival auditions at Milford High School this year on November 18th. We are proud to say that 24 students were selected to represent Foreign High School in the Regional Musical Festival in January.
The National Art Honor Society and Tri-M Music Honor Society held their induction ceremony this last month. 31 members were inducted in total.
On November 9th, 2017, 24 people were inducted into the National Honor Society.
The freshman team leaders continue to ask students to think about how they can practice intentional kindness here at Foreign and in the Milford community. Students were asked during their advisory class to commit to one act of kindness that they could perform during the month of December. The kindness chain is hanging in the front lobby at Foreign.
Finally, Officer Stephen Napolitano and his canine Mac, who with the help of Officer Pat Taylor helped our AP psychology classes relate to the ideas of operant or classical conditioning within the Milford community. This is all part of their learning unit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. John the Law.
All right.
You want to introduce yourselves to everyone first?
Go around.
Hi, Adam. Nice to meet you. Hi, Adam. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Erin.
Nice to meet you. Not me. I would be. I'll be honest.
We would like to welcome all the new members from the Johnson Law community. In athletic news, the annual Powder Puff game took place on Tuesday, November 21st, with Law defeating Foreign 35-0. The annual Thanksgiving Day game was one of the most exciting in recent memory, with Law defeating Foreign 34-28. With that win, Law football qualified for the playoffs for the first time in the 57-year history of the school. We would like to thank everyone in the Milford community for their support and attendance during the events during the Thanksgiving week. Winter sports are now underway, and our first games for our teams are this week. We hope to take the momentum from the fall into our winter season, with all our fall teams qualifying for their respective postseasons.
All right. In school counseling and college career news, on Monday, November 13th through Thursday, November 16th, Law hosted its military week. We had the U.S. Coast Guard, Navy, Army, and Marines visit the school for prospective military students going into. So also, Law hosted 3 on-site admission days in the last 2 weeks, including Albertus Magnus, University of New Haven, and Southern Connecticut State, with 21 students that were admitted into these schools as part of the program. On Wednesday, December 6th, Junior night took place at Law, with a presentation about college preparation to students and parents of the junior class, with approximately 78 families attending. Additional college acceptances include University of Alabama, University of St. Joe's, La Salle University, Western New England University, Curry College, Dean College, and the American University of Paris. Let's see, you want to do next or should I? All right, so some student support center news on 10/2, that was December 2nd. The members of the support center requested the report for the senior students who have grades that are D's and F's. Once the list was received, they met individually with each student to work on skills, content, and organization in preparation for college. When speaking with a freshman boy, a junior girl advised that she uses the support center a lot. In her first 2 years of coming to the center, it was for math help only, but this year she is using the center to discover herself in writing. A junior also came to the support center for the first time to help with math tests, and she states that she will start using the center more because she needs it and it helps.
In recent events, our homecoming dance on November 17th held over 450 students, and all the money raised from that will go to the senior class. Thursday, November 16th was our freshman forum with their influences on youth, and approximately 80% of the freshmen attended with their families. Spirit Week and a half was extended to 2 weeks because of football making states, and it was a success. On Tuesday, December 5th, Law will host district instructional rounds. In law-amazing news, 2 scholar athletes were featured on News Channel 12, Matt Turners and Lily Ball.
And that's about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, if you students want to excuse yourself, that's fine with us, and I hope you have a happy holiday.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody in attendance this evening who wanted to address the board for public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll forego the public comment statement and move on to the chair's report. So board members, welcome again to your first board business meeting. In front of you, you have a laminated copy of our vision statement and our for the Board of Ed and the mission statement from Milford Public Schools. And I asked Mrs. Griffin to make these up for you so that we have something to always keep in the forefront as we are deliberating, because this is what we keep in mind when we do our board work. I want to remind you all that we don't have any committee of the whole meeting in December, but we do have a very full January calendar. As budget season, it will be in full swing. Our next meeting is January 8th. Dr. Fieser will present her 2018-19 budget to us during that meeting, and that formally begins our budget process. I will review the process in general with board members via email as we approach that date more closely. But please note that there are 4 budget workshops that you've already been, we're already sent the dates for those budget workshops. So I hope they're on your calendar. Just a reminder to the board that we have our consent agenda on our regular agenda, and if there's anything ever that you want taken off the consent agenda for discussion, you need to ask me in advance or state at the beginning of the meeting, or before we get to that point that you have something you want removed, because there is no discussion on consent agenda items. And just a review of the policy work that we're going to be starting. Will be your first time looking at policy review. We do our policy work in 2 readings. Typically, we can do additional readings if need be, but we have a first reading where we talk about what's been proposed and ask for any changes or revisions, and then it comes back at the next meeting for a second reading, and we move on from there. And you've all been given your liaison assignments. I just wanted to point out that I did email them all to everybody, and I think tonight we may only have 1 report from Mrs. Federico, because she's the only one that's, I think, been to a meeting recently.
Yes.
So I will ask if she has a report to give.
Okay, yes, I have a report from the Permanent School Facilities Building Committee, and I have my minutes of the meeting in front of me, just so I don't forget anything. So we met on November 16th, and we met at West Shore Middle School. We spent a good amount of time discussing the West Shore Middle School project. And we had a number of change orders that we had to consider for some things that came up after the construction started. So there were some significant change orders that we considered, and that should be the last of the really significant change orders. In addition to West Shore Middle School, the 4 elementary school roofs were discussed, and those are the same roofs that we're going to be approving a bit later on. The Board of Ed has to formally approve them, but the committee has already approved those 4 projects as 100% completed. Additionally, there's some work still going on in the Harborside Middle School windows. Are not quite finished there, and there's just a few things they're wrapping up on the Jonathan Law abatement project that was done over the summer. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. So just to clarify one more time on the consent agenda, the roof items that are there, it's a technicality that we have to approve them as a board. So that's why there's no real discussion about them. They're done, and we just have to go through the formal process of making that approval. All right, with that said, I'm done with my chair's report. I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Fieser for her report.
Mrs. Glennon. So the first item on the agenda this evening is an instructional highlight, which is centering on the new Teacher Academy and inspiring administrators group that have been formed, and I'm going to have Mr. Burt take the lead on this.
Thank you, Dr. Fieser, and good evening and welcome to everyone. I don't want to steal Mr. Smith's thunder. I'm sure he's going to walk everyone through both of these wonderful programs. I do want to take a brief opportunity here to thank Ms. Shannon Carlson, our current principal of East Shore Middle School, but our former supervisor for district improvement, because a lot of the groundwork for both of these, the revision to the new Teacher Academy and the creation of the Aspiring Leadership Academy, really was through her hard work. So I do want to acknowledge her hard work, even though she's abandoned us at central office and moved on to a building position, and she is in no way dead to me at this point, so I just wanted to put it out there. But I do want to thank also Mr. Smith as well. He's taken on the role of the district improvement supervisor with great vigor, and has taken on these 2 entities and really done a fantastic job transitioning into the position. So at this time, I'll just hand it over to Mr. Smith.
Thanks, Mr. Burke.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to all the new board members. A lot of new faces here tonight. Welcome to Milford Public Schools Board of Education. And nobody is more grateful for Shannon's contributions to this role than I am. I'm fairly new to this role. I took over in August when Shannon went to East Shore. I became the the supervisor of district improvement, and I'm very grateful for all the work that Shannon did while she was here. So one of my main responsibilities as supervisor of district improvement is to manage the professional learning for the teachers. And 2 of the really important components of a professional learning program are the new Teacher Academy and the Aspiring Leadership Academy. So what I want to do tonight is just teach you about those 2 parts of our professional learning so that you're well versed in them and you know how we grow and support our teachers here in Milford. So the new Teacher Academy, as you can imagine, becoming a new teacher anywhere is quite a daunting task. And in Milford, the new Teacher Academy used to consist of a new teacher orientation 3 days in the summer before school started to get the teachers used to their new position. That's still in place, but Shannon last year grew the new teacher orientation to include a 4th day in addition to the 3rd, and to include half-day monthly meetings to continue the professional learning throughout. Here's a picture of our new teachers from last August, and it was really a fun group to work with, and they did a terrific job in the new Teacher Academy. And we've hired more teachers since then. As of right now, we're up to 37 new hires at this point in the Milford Public Schools. And it's a really diverse group, because only about 13 of those new hires are actually brand new first-year teachers. The rest have come from other districts or other experiences. So some of the goals of the new Teacher Academy. The first goal is to help new teachers transition into teaching. Second is to familiarize new teachers with the core beliefs and practices within our learning community. And third, to improve student learning and achievement through the continuous improvement of teacher effectiveness. We do quite a bit of work at the New Teacher Academy. For example, the first day we undertake the district goals and priorities. We also talk about the instructional framework, taking care of yourself to take care of others, and district technology. That first day, the mayor and Dr. Fieser also come and they welcome all the new teachers. And Dr. Fieser does a talk with all the new teachers about professional responsibilities in that first day also. And the second day, we continue important work talking about school security, special education policies and procedures, human resources procedures, some logistical things such as how do you get a substitute teacher when you're out for the day. And I talk at length about professional learning and teacher evaluation plan, which has multiple components to it. The third day is called Buddy Day, and what we do on the third day is that every new teacher is assigned a buddy in district, a seasoned teacher, and what they do is they spend the morning here with me for a brief time, then they go back to their home schools with their teachers for the whole day, and they go through all the curriculum they're going to cover for the year, as well as helping set up their classroom for classroom management procedures, and planning out the first few weeks of lessons for the school, for the teacher. And then, as I said, we added a fourth day this year, and in that fourth day, we covered some building procedures such as energy efficiency, but we also went into more depth. Annalise Faziano was here, and she helped me out and talked about classroom management and how teachers can contribute to that safe and positive school climate in schools. Plus, after 4 days of learning, there was quite a lengthy Q&A session from the new teachers about becoming a new teacher in Milford. So that was the orientation piece. So one of the additions that Shannon made last year is monthly workshops. So you can imagine the orientation gets the teachers ready to start in a whole new job in Milford. But the monthly workshops allow us to go more in depth into the learning of really key components throughout the course of the year. Things such as the instructional framework, social emotional learning, effective planning, technology, and differentiation. So after the first 4 days I spent with the new teachers, I sent out a survey and said, okay, of all the things that we've talked about, what do you want to know more about to have a successful first year here at Milford? And these were the top categories that they chose. So I've planned workshops, half-day workshops, each month from November to the end of the year to cover these topics and go more in-depth with these topics.
Mr. Smith, would you speak a little bit to what the instructional framework is?
Sure. So the instructional framework is a rubric that defines what good teaching and learning is in the Milford Public Schools. So it was developed quite a few years ago for a professional learning plan to get common language across the district. And it includes classroom environment, it includes how you plan and prepare your lessons, it includes the instruction that happens in the classroom, as well as assessment. And it details, there's indicators for all those categories to define what good teaching and learning is in the Milford Public Schools. And it's based, our whole professional learning plan and teacher evaluation system is based on that instructional framework. So when I presented it during the orientation, teachers understood it somewhat, but they asked for a lot more detail, which we did in our first session in November. All right, so I've asked one of our very brave new teachers to come here tonight and to help me just by describing what her experience has been through the New Teacher Academy, so you can get a flavor for what it's like from the eyes of a new teacher. Liz, you want to come up here? This is Miss Elizabeth White.
Hi. Good evening. And I just want to start out by saying thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you to the Board of Ed, Dr. Fieser, because I was a beneficiary of the New Teacher Academy. And when Mr. Burt told me when I was initially hired, he said, and you have 4 days of the New Teacher Academy. I really was not prepared for what I was in store for. It was not, this is not my first teaching position. So I've been through this, but this was absolutely unique and well done and well thought out. And I know that it comes as a cost to the Board of Education, but I really do feel that it's worthy. Everything was so clearly laid out, beginning with the board's priorities, the district goals for 2016 to 2020, and how it's all aligned within the instructional framework that they were referring to earlier. Nothing was left to chance. We were not stuck, you know, kind of figuring out how the first lockdown's going to go, what's going to happen if. Someone was there to speak to each part of it. Carol Swift was there, as well as representatives from the high school, the middle school, elementary school, from the PBS teams. So we knew exactly what to expect, faces that we would be seeing in the building, resources, people that we could go to. The social emotional learning piece, I cannot say enough, Elise is phenomenal. But I think it really goes to the heart of, in Milford, the children are at the center of everything. And I think that was really reiterated through the entire academy. The days though that we're spending now that we've had time in the classroom, are so very valuable. As he indicated, there was a Google survey that was sent out. You know, now that you've had time to get your feet wet, what do you want more of? And now we have the time to reconvene, just as elementary teachers or secondary, so it's a little bit more tailored toward what we need. And it's nice to not only learn together and grow together, but to see one another and really realize that there are people in the same position as us. But I cannot thank you enough, because I realize it comes as a cost to the district, but I have learned a tremendous amount. It has been a wonderful growth opportunity for me, and I look forward to Thursday and the days to come. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. White?
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you, Ms. White. Ms. White's a reading interventionist at John F. Kennedy School in Orchard Hills. She splits her time through both, and we were very grateful that Ms. White came and joined Milford this year. She's been a tremendous asset to the district already. Thank you, Ms. White. The New Teacher Academy is part of an even more comprehensive new teacher induction system in Milford. So the academy is one piece, but there's also professional development on Wednesdays, early release days, and professional learning days for the new teachers. There's also individual mentoring and coaching for all the new teachers. As well, there's a Connecticut State Department of Education new teacher induction program called the TEAM program. Some of you may have heard of that. It was in the news recently because through the new state budget actually cut all the funding and the support for the TEAM program. However, they still require all the components of the TEAM program to happen. So Mr. Burt, myself, and the team coordinating committee are working on a plan to see how we can make sure all that happens and it's funded and it still goes along well. It is an important component of new teacher induction, so we're going to make sure that we do it right, but that's something that we're currently working on now. So all of these pieces come together, and they have the benefits I described earlier, but in addition to that, what they do is I think that they really accelerate the mastery of teaching, and they also contribute a lot to our teacher retention, which is really important in education. So besides the New Teacher Academy, we also have the Aspiring Leadership Academy. So the New Teacher Academy is designed to help all of our new teachers get acclimated to Milford Public Schools and get off to a fresh start. The Aspiring Leadership Academy is designed to strengthen the knowledge, skills, and competencies that teachers need to assume leadership roles. And this was launched last year by Shannon Carlson and Jeff Burt. And it was giving teachers the opportunity to really grow and develop their leadership skills. Providing this opportunity to these teachers, I think gives them a much needed chance to grow, but it also benefits the district at the same time. So some of the goals of the Aspiring Leadership Academy is to recognize and develop instructional leaders and visionaries, to strengthen the knowledge, skills, and competencies that teachers need to assume leadership roles, and to develop a strong understanding of excellent instruction and how to share those practices with colleagues. So there was an ardent application process last year that Shannon and Jeff kind of managed, where teachers who were desiring to take on leadership roles, they had to apply and answer questions, they had to get letters of references. Then there was a committee formed where they all applied to become part of this program. Of all the applicants, they chose 11 participants to be involved in the program. There's currently 10 aspiring leaders. One of the aspiring leaders was hired as the principal at John F. Kennedy School to take my place when I left John F. Kennedy School. So we went from 11 to 10. So what happens in the Aspiring Leadership Program? One of the things that we do is we meet once or twice a month as a group. And when we meet as a group, we talk about and discuss best leadership practices. We also do case studies. So we'll look at case studies as a group, and we'll analyze responses and leadership actions to certain scenarios. And we do walkthroughs in the schools. So last month we did a walkthrough through West Shore Middle School. We looked at teaching and learning, and we also had a really engaging conversation here at Parsons earlier in the month as well. There's also an independent learning project. So the aspiring leaders develop and create, and then they monitor and assess a leadership project in their school that they follow through the course of their time in the program. In addition to that, there's a shadow experience they design, and in the shadow experience, they join an administrator, a district or building administrator, either in Milford or outside of Milford, and they spend a day with them to see what their challenges and their work is throughout the day. So I also have a brave aspiring leader here with us tonight, Miss Mary Ito, and Miss Ito is going to talk about her experience in the Aspiring Leadership Program.
Hi, welcome. I see so many new board members. Thank you for your service to the children of Milford. First thing I have to say about Sean is he's a great new leader to our Aspiring Leadership Academy, but he doesn't do the food like you do, Shannon.
Wow.
We're working on that. I have my 092 administrative certification, and so I went through 2 years of college work to become an administrator. I have to say that this program surpasses the work that I did through university to prepare an individual to be a leader. It gives us true experiential opportunities to understand real life situations. The case studies that we did at college was in a textbook. The professor really had no idea what the case was truly about, just read it out of the book the same that we did. There was no follow through with what was that administrator's thinking when they were going through that experience, and then how did it end, and what was the reflection afterwards. That's what we do with the Aspiring Leadership Academy. Sean shared one of his own experiences last time we met, one of the case studies that he experienced as a real living administrator in a building. And there's so much value to that authentic experience and conversation that we had around that. The instructional rounds piece that we do with the or walkthroughs, as Sean described it, I found that to be the most beneficial to me personally, because we are going into classrooms and we're looking at the instructional core, the teacher, the students, the content, and how all of that works together. What's the teacher saying and doing? What is the student saying and doing? And then coming back and having conversations about that, and really being challenged and pushed to validate our opinion of what we saw in terms of how it benefited the students' learning. Who was doing the work? Because it's easy to sometimes to walk into a classroom and go, wow, that was great. And then when Mr. Burt says, what do you mean by that? Let me see. And you go back in your notes, and we are learning to really take copious notes about what we actually are hearing and seeing the students doing, and then having really rich conversations about those experiences back with leaders like Mr. Burt or Mr. Smith, to really validate what it is that we saw and how then we would guide a teacher afterwards. And that's the piece that I feel like all of the leadership experience that I've had in my 20 years of Milford, I feel like that part of it has been really beneficial. is to really think about how are you gonna have a conversation with the teacher afterwards, knowing that they really truly believe that that was a great lesson, because they care about kids. But when you're looking at it from our lens as administrators, we really need to push and challenge them. How do you have that conversation where you value the hard work that they put, but at the same time stretch them? So Sean told me I only had about 2 or 3 minutes to talk. I could probably talk all night about it. The Aspiring Leadership Academy, it really is a great program that has been brought to Milford. I think if you look around the state of Connecticut, it's probably one of the first out there. And thank you for the opportunity to let me be a part of it. It truly does help us to become stronger leaders in the district.
Thanks, Mary. Very well said.
Any questions for Mrs. Ito? Okay.
So I should give this clicker to Ms. Ito, but she's obviously doing very well. So in summary, both programs, I think, are contributing a lot to Milford Public Schools. You know, the new teacher program is really accelerating teachers' learning to become master teachers and getting them off to a really solid start. In the Aspiring Leadership program, you know, teachers like Ms. Ito, who are really ready for a new level of growth, have that opportunity. And the work that they do helps their schools, it helps our district, and ultimately it all helps the students in the city of Milford. So that's it on the 2 programs from me. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. DeYoung.
How many people applied for the Leadership Academy? And do you anticipate expanding the number of people that are going to participate next year?
It's a great question. I wasn't here during the application process. I don't know if Mr. Burt or Ms. Carlson could help me out there.
So we had 42 applicants.
Okay.
Because it was a year 1, we wanted to start with a small pilot.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to expand it, so the plan is to start another cohort and start applications mid-year so that we get a new cohort in before the end of this year,
Okay.
and we can roll that over into next year.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Federico?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was gonna ask about the number of applicants, and my other question was for the Leadership Academy, were there any resources that you started with, or was it all developed internally?
Well, Shannon and Jeff started with this group. This was an 18-month group, so they started the middle of last year. And this year, it's all been internal, but I think there were some resources that you started with last year as well.
Yeah, so I did research. I just reached out to other districts throughout the state and also New York, Vermont, and Maine, just to see who else was doing it.
Okay.
And kind of got a sampling and then kind of worked from there.
Okay, okay, great, thank you, and thank you for the excellent testimonials, those were fantastic.
Mr. Pulowski?
Thank you. In relation to the new teacher academy, it was newly expanded this year, you said, 4th day, and now we have the monthly workshops as well. What was the reaction to the 4th day? Did you see that as being very beneficial overall? And was it a good takeaway? I got from your testimony that the monthly workshops are definitely helpful.
The final day, if you don't mind me jumping in, was also extremely beneficial because that day we did have time to actually go back into our buildings to kind of get to work. The day before, we had part of the day to meet with our supervisors, and they assigned us a buddy that would serve as our mentor. And then that final 4th day, we were afforded the same opportunity to get into the building and kind of, work with our administrators, other teachers. So it was very beneficial.
And that was all new this year?
The 4th day
year.
I mean, all that part of the program was for the 4th day?
Second year for the 4th day?
Yes.
But second year for the meetings during the year, correct?
Yes.
Sorry.
So second year for the meetings during the year, and the first year for the 4th day, in addition to the
So what was new content-wise that added to the 4th day? Was there anything?
Well, yeah, primarily Ms. Spaziano's piece on classroom management.
Okay.
So imagine being a new teacher coming into this profession. One of the biggest challenges for a new teacher is classroom management. Working with 20 students on a regular basis and making sure that your classroom has a positive school climate, positive classroom climate, so that you can teach and the kids can learn. So that was a big piece to the 4th day right there. We also did some building procedures. Mr. Whitaker was actually there helping doing some of that with the energy efficiency piece. And the Q&A piece on the second day was really big, because as you can imagine, you're probably experiencing it as new board members, getting a lot of information over the last few weeks. So it's packed into 3 days. So teachers that are brand new to the buildings or brand new to Milford come in and they get 3 solid days of training. So the Q&A lasted quite a while, so that was beneficial as well. And then in the afternoon for a couple hours, they were able to go back to their classrooms and finish setting up and getting ready for the kids.
And for the Aspiring Leadership Academy, you said there were 42 applicants and only 11 were chosen, 10 eventually after one was hired to be a principal, which is a good thing, obviously. Of those 42, do you know of any of them left? I'm just wondering if not being able to get into the Aspiring Leadership Academy may have actually harmed retention for some of those looking to get a leadership role, given they may have felt that they would have been excluded from any future leaderships for at least 18 months.
I can answer that. Yeah, I think we've only had one person leave out of the original applicant pool, and they actually became an administrator in another district.
Okay.
So it's more of just an opportunity. It's not to be exclusive. We really wanted to make sure that we had a small group to work with, because we were feeling our way through the whole process. You know, the process now, we might go a little bit larger. We're trying to overlap the cohorts, might allow for some, you know, mentoring from the previous cohort to the new cohort type of piece. I also want to add one additional thing. It's not strictly just for teachers to become administrators. It's also for them to take on different leaderships roles within the building. You don't have to be an 092 or you don't have to be an administrator to take on a leadership role. We want to build up that sort of spirit within the district, that there's multiple opportunities. There's multiple committees. There's things within your building that you could be doing to provide leadership to help move the district along and not necessarily be in an administrative contract. So that's the philosophy behind it. It's not to say all these folks are going to go and become a principal someday. Right. It's really to say we want to provide something that was missing in the district was, you know, nurturing our own, if you will, to create both a feeder channel for administrative positions, but also build up some leadership capacity in the district.
And this is going 18 months, so to the end of this year, end of the school year, correct?
Correct.
Great. Thank you.
Ms. Pinsence?
My question is regarding the new teacher academy, the half days that are in addition to the regular development half days. What's going on with the students during that period of time for their classrooms?
So what we do is, as White said, is we pull the teachers out by level. So we have elementary school come for the morning, we have middle and high school come for the afternoon. So we get half-day substitutes for the teachers while they're here doing their professional development.
Has anyone complained that that is breaking up the school day or anything? I mean, I'm sure it's doing much more good than harm.
Right, I mean, it's a choice that you make, you know, during the school day to grow the teachers professionally. But I think it's effective here. The teachers seem to be getting a lot out of it.
That's great. And also, I did have a question about the leadership academy. Is that also taking time out of their school day, or is that after school hours? There doesn't seem to be a mention of a half day for them a month or anything.
Much of that is after school hours, 3:30 to 5 or so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The next item on the agenda is the energy conservation update, which is an annual report, and I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Riccitelli.
Thank you, Dr. Fieser, Mrs. Glenn, and members of the board. Each year at the December meeting, we come to you and we report on the efforts of the district on our energy conservation program, which had its inception in 2010. We'll talk at great detail here about that. But before I begin, I want to introduce, and I'm sure you may already know them, but Pat Bradbury is our Director of Maintenance and Facilities, and Jim Whitaker is our Energy Specialist. So, yeah, Pam's going to get the piece up. Thank you. So in December of 2010, Milford Public Schools embarked on a new program. At that time, it was called Energy Education Incorporated, and since then, the new name of the corporation is Synergistics. But it was a 4-year contract that Milford Public Schools entered into, and it's a customized energy conservation program that's based upon behavioral changes and changing the culture of the district, rather than many times we think about energy conservation in the form of expensive capital improvements. More efficient boilers, energy systems that are computerized, which all come with huge price tags. This program is an innovative way of changing the culture, and it can be something that, as we have experienced here in Milford Public Schools, and as we'll elaborate on, it was something that could be achieved very quickly and with really remarkable results. So it was a contract that was paid, and we'll talk about the cost. It was a contract that was paid to then EEI, and the dollars for the cost of the contract were paid for by the savings in energy for those particular years. So with that, at this time, we're going to tag team a little bit, and I'm going to turn the program over to Jim Whitaker, our energy specialist, who has been with the program since the very beginning, and can give you a little bit about the history and exactly how he's the expert on how the details of how the program works.
Thank you. I'm still stuck on Jeremy with that artwork. We have some creative kids in this system. Are we on to, I gotta go where? Creatives. So the primary goals of our program are to create a positive educational environment, both as the staff and the students, to maintain and improve safety and comfort in our buildings and our classrooms, to eliminate the energy waste, which then, of course, saves us money, that we can then change the direction we're going with that money. Instead of sending it to the UI and to the Southern Connecticut Gas, we can use it and put it back into the classroom and to the teachers. And to overall just achieve an energy conservation culture. We are, of course, in a school system. The kids start learning this stuff young. And this is just what part of our program is just keep it going. And so grow up with this. So this is the electric comparison chart. It's done in kilowatt hours, which is how we buy our electricity. On the left-hand side, July 2016 through June of 2017 is this past fiscal year. And what it shows is that we were expected to buy a little over 7 million kilowatt hours to run our building in electricity. And through our program, we were able to get that buy down to 4,892,000 kilowatt hours. And then on the right-hand side is, since we started the program in January of 2011 through this past June, we were expected to buy almost 45 million kilowatt hours of electricity. And over the number of years, we've bought 32,296,000 instead. This is the natural gas comparison, same idea, except it's done in cubic feet, how we buy our gas. July 2016 through June of 2017, this past fiscal year, we were expected to buy 620,000 cubic feet of natural gas, where in fact we bought 479,000 cubic feet. And then January of 2011 through June of 2017, we were expected to buy 4.3 million cubic feet, and we bought 3.3 million instead. This is the environmental benefits of what our program does. We've reduced our consumption by 2.6 million kilowatts of electricity since the inception of our program. and we've reduced our consumption of natural gas by 1,074,000 CCFs of natural gas. The greenhouse gas reduction equates to preventing the release of 9,142 metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere, or removing 1,905 automobiles for 1 full year, or planting 234,409 tree seedlings. I'm given a short amount of time to run over this, but in the end, if anybody has any questions about the program, please get a hold of me. It's something I could talk hours about, so.
Okay, so Jim talks in cubic feet of gas and kilowatt hours of electricity, and that's all extremely important. The environmental aspects and the environmental benefits of this program are immense. But from our perspective, we also save dollars, and that's what we want to talk about at this point. So there's a lot of numbers here. This slide is busy, but I'll just go over it briefly. If you have any questions, please. In the, of course, the year, we started in the first year was 2010, 2011, and in the purple column was the expected expenditure, and that's based upon, we took the previous year, the 2009-2010 school year, and for natural gas and electricity, the district spent almost $2.3 million. And so if the district did nothing else, and if there were no fluctuations in weather, which of course there are, and if there were no fluctuations in price of the commodities, which of course there are, we would have expected, since the inception of the program, to spend approximately $16 million on energy costs in Milford Public Schools. The next column, the actual expenditure, those dollars are right out of the budget books. Those are what we actually spend. And so just raw dollars since the inception of the Synergistics program, we've spent close to $12 million when we would have expected that we would have been close to 16. And the next column is that the savings, assuming no fluctuations. Another way of looking at it is cost avoidance. This is what we would have avoided paying in energy and utility costs of over $4 million. But of course, there is fluctuations in some years are extremely cold, some are much warmer. Prices fluctuate from time to time. We have locked in prices, but during the course of this program, there have been changes in price that we're locked in at. So with the Synergistics program comes a complex software program that converts all of these things and makes adjustments for those fluctuations. And without going through each year, of course, the actual savings with adjustments factored in is $3.7 million since 2010, 2011. The next slide, there's a cost of the program, as I said before. The cost of the program each year was $253,000 for 4 years. And we started in the 2010, 2011, we started halfway through the year. So the first year there was a little bit less, and then that was made up in actually the 5th year, which was the 14-15 program, when our contract with Synergistics ended. So you can see the cost there that we paid for the program. The cost of Synergistics, the cost of salary, and the cost of the energy cap, which is the software program that I just spoke about. For a total, since 2010, 2011, of approximately $1.5 million that we've spent on the Synergistics program. The next slide is the bottom line. The savings, the cost that we've avoided over since Synergistics, since this program has been in Milford Public Schools, $3.7 million. The cost of the program, $1.5 million, for a net savings over that period of time of almost $2.2 million, which is pretty remarkable. When you take into account that this program doesn't go after those big capital improvements that can save big dollars. This is the culture. This is turning things off. This is when buildings aren't occupied, turning the exhaust fans off on the ceiling that are that burn a tremendous amount of electricity. The culture in our schools, and we'll talk about it a little. Jim will talk about it in a second. But the culture in the schools is that the kids start from a very early age. This has been embraced by the teachers, the principals, the parents, and we've been very fortunate. The next slide, I'm going to ask Jim just to explain, if you would, Jim.
So this next slide shows the blue line is when then Energy Education, now the company's called Synergistics. When we began talking to them in 2010 about their program, they gave a presentation, and that blue line shows what they said to us. We guarantee you're going to save this much. And one of the questions that was asked back then was, well, how can you even guarantee that? And they said, well, we see what you're spending. We know how school systems operate. They've been around at that point for about 24 years doing this. And we know how school systems respond. So by all that knowledge, we're really able to start where you're going to be and how well you're going to do. At the time, the members of the Board of Education looked at that line and said, well, you know, that blue line's pretty good savings. Yeah, we're in. Plus, they gave us the guarantee that if we don't save you the money, every dime you pay us, we give you back. So it's kind of hard to say no. The red line is what we've actually done. We were about 2 years into the program. One of the engineers, actually one of the vice presidents of the company, came up here to visit with us for 2 days. And as I was walking him through the building, he said to me you know, we can't believe how well Milford's doing. They never expected this. So this is one of my favorite charts in here, because this is what really says, this is what says what the program's doing. And to me, that's real exciting, to be that far ahead of what they predicted. This next one is some of the awards that we've received over the years. 2011, the EPA Low Carbon IT Information Technology Campaign. That basically goes to shutting off our computers, our monitors, and our printers when they're not in use at nights and weekends. The 2012 EPA Energy Star Partner Award. 2013 and 2016, now this is real big. This is the EPA Energy Star certified buildings. Every one of our schools, all 14 buildings, are Energy Star certified. We are the only school system in the state of Connecticut to have all our buildings done. And we're talking about school systems that some of the school systems only have 2 or 3 buildings. We're the only one in the state of Connecticut that has all of our buildings done. So that's a huge award, and you know, we get it every 3 years. We apply for it. We'll apply for it again next year. In 2014, we got the Power of Change Top Building Award. That was the Tremaine Foundation, Hampshire Foundation worked with DEEP, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, to come up with an award for anybody that was involved in Connecticut in the Energy Star program, which we were. We could all apply. We applied, and in 2014 we got the Top Building Award. One of the reasons was because all 14 of our buildings were certified, and we were able to show where some of our buildings went from some of the lowest scores possible up to some of the highest scores possible to get the awards for our building. And then in 2016, the UI Energy Star Achievement Award, which UI gave us because all of our buildings were Energy Star certified, and they couldn't believe it. They found it hard to believe. So we ended up getting that award for doing that. And then, of course, none of this can be done. Am I in the way?
There we go.
None of this can, you know, people tell me all the time, Jim, you run a great program. Well, I'm just the facilitator. None of this could be done without our students and our staff participating, the community, the maintenance staff, our IT department, the custodians, the students, the parents, our health offices. And this is a program that takes everybody into account, and it doesn't work unless everybody's involved. So, you know, I really do thank everybody for getting involved and helping us make this work.
Thanks, Jim. So as I stated before, the contract with Synergistics was a 4-year contract, and that was a contract for over $250,000 per year. When that contract ended in 2015, we said to the board, there's $250,000 that will not be in your budget next year, but would the board consider using a portion of that savings for some of the higher capital equipment purchases that I talked about before that we were foregoing in favor. And the board did. In 15-16, the board through the general operating budget committed $124,000. And in 16-17 and 17-18 committed $50,000. And I'm going to ask Pat to talk to you a little bit about what we've done and how we've used the dollars that the board has set aside to leverage with incentives from the utility companies.
So basically what happens here is we work with UI and Southern Connecticut Gas, we're all one. And they'll come up and they'll offer incentive dollars for us to change out some lighting. We've done a big lighting package last year at the high schools and outdoor lighting, and we expanded some of the control strategies that we're doing. We changed some of our controllers on the BMS system, what controls our HVAC. We control all that here at Parsons, so we were able to upgrade some of the controllers at the school, not only to get a night setback, but to get a during the day unoccupied set point. So we can drop the temperatures in some of the areas, the larger areas, a couple degrees, just to save on some energy, shut those air handlers down a little bit, they'll slow the speeds down because we have drives on them. That was last year's project. So then, go ahead.
Here we go, financials.
Financials. So these are the two projects we did last year, both at the high schools, and those are the incentives that we were able to get through the UI. Return on investment. Okay. So next.
You're in my way. Sorry.
Heard that before. So this year we're going after some more. We're going a little deeper into the buildings. We're getting into the high school. We're getting into the hallways. We're not going after a lot of the classrooms. The classrooms have less run time than we'll say the hallways, the computer labs and whatnot. So we're kind of going after that right now. We're going to be doing the Harborside Middle School, East Shore. West Shore is not in this because West Shore got upgraded when we just did the renovation there this year. Okay. And that is, yes, that's the project that we are actually working with the contractor in UI right now. So it's just getting ready to get off the ground. We're going through some paperwork and some submittals. They're getting me a product list of what we're doing, but this is what looks like the project will be.
So if I just elaborate a little bit, as I said before, the board in 16-17 and 17-18 committed $50,000 in each year. So we're combining those two budget years, and we're doing a project which will cost Milford Public Schools $97,000. But with UI incentives, we're actually getting a project for $165,000. So that's our goal, to continue to use whatever dollars the board allows us to use to be able to leverage those to get much more than what's committed in actual dollars. And then, of course, you can see the return on investment. The previous ones were 2.5 years, and we would recognize our investment. And for this particular project, 3.9 years for return on investment.
And then I just want to, while you're here, I just want to point out to you that The UI incentive of 447,000. It sounds like the UI's giving us that money. That's money that we've given them. Every time everybody in here, if you pay any type of UI bill or a gas bill, you know, you can look at it at home, it says right on it, customer benefit charge. Everybody pays into this. If we don't come up with money to do an energy saving project, we can't get the money back. So it's actually, we're, by the board saying, here's 50,000 to go do a project, that's how we're able to go to them and say, look, we got 50 grand to do a project. How much can we get back of our money? So it's, you know, I just want you to realize that nobody's giving us the money. It's money that we've paid in, because we do pay in tens of thousands of dollars every year.
Okay, so the next piece of this is the projects that I do during the year. You saw pictures of a project we did this year at JFK. We replaced the ceiling in there. We were able to upgrade all the lighting in there to LED, and we get an incentive right from the manufacturer through UI to purchase that equipment. So we get those fixtures at almost half the rate with the UI incentive. And we're constantly upgrading timers, astronomical timers. So although we're not putting capital money into Jim's issues, which is really behavioral. And that's a huge piece of this piece, is to keep going around and reminding people to shut things down. Do you really need it? And then it comes to be my job to make sure the schools are still inviting, my egress lighting is still working, and the parents and the kids still want to come here, because we don't want it totally dark, but we want it so it's inviting to everybody to get around and do their thing. So I kind of play the balance between, you know, pitch black and lawsuit. That's how that is. So, but we're constantly upgrading. Anytime we can, if we renovate classrooms, East Shore, we did about 8 or 9 classrooms last year. We'll come in, we'll remove the ceilings, we'll upgrade the lighting and do some things there.
So where are we going now? And that's solar. We want to make sure that we continue to be one of the leaders in energy conservation. And so the next generation is solar, and it's the goal of Milford Public Schools to have solar arrays on all 14 of our buildings within a short period of time. We're committed to continuing to reduce that energy and consumption. It makes sense now to do solar because we have new roofs on our schools, which is the perfect time to do it. There are government and utility incentives which make it affordable to do it now. Besides the fact that it's environmentally the right thing to do, we're going to save money. In the solar program that we've embarked upon, there are no upfront costs. The city and the Board of Ed, because the city actually owns the buildings. We occupy them, but the city owns them, and so the approvals had to come actually from the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Aldermen. But the city will lease the rooftops to an energy developer who will put the solar arrays on the buildings, and then Milford Public Schools will purchase the energy that's generated from those solar arrays at a reduced rate from what we're paying now to the electric companies that we're buying from. So that's how the program works. No upfront money, rooftops leased for 20 years, and then we purchase at a reduced rate the amount of electricity that's generated from those arrays. So when we began the program, we issued a request for proposal. That's one of your acronyms. RFP is request for proposal, and that's a bid for a solar energy developer. We received 8 responses from nationwide developers as far away as California. We interviewed 5 of the firms, and we brought back 2 finalists for a second interview. And our selection committee selected a company called Davis Hill Development, or Skyview Ventures. Their selection was based upon their depth of experience in solar, strong recommendations that we received from them, and their experience in working with other Connecticut municipalities and school districts. So, where we are right now, we have received city and utility approvals. We went to, as I said, we went to the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Aldermen, and have received approvals for 7 of the schools. This is the first half, and then we'll be doing the second half in the very near future. We've negotiated the contracts and they've been signed. Installation will begin as soon as the weather breaks after this winter, and we will have those systems up and energized by the end of the summer, this coming summer of 2018. And again, as I said, we have plans to install solar on all 14 of our buildings. The rest of the slides really in your package are just a preliminary site design of what the arrays will look like. So you can see on all of these schools, we're using a good portion of the roof space to maximize the amount of energy that we can achieve. This is Law, Pumpkin Delight, Orchard Hills, Harborside. Questions?
Any questions for Mr. Riccitelli and Mr. Polowski?
Thank you. You had a question on the expected expenditure.
Sure.
It's based on 2009 to 2010 base year energy expenditures. Why hasn't that been updated across the table? Because I assume based on the actual expenditure over the last several years that our expected expenditure should be lowered for 2017. Do we not have updated figures?
No. We know exactly what we've spent each year.
Yeah.
But that's just a baseline. That if we did nothing else, we would expect that if we didn't take any measures, we would expect that our energy costs would be as much as they were the year before. Unless it fluctuated for, a really warm weather, a really warm winter, or on the other side, it could go higher if we had a very cold winter. And so that's just a baseline, the 09-10 year, and then we just extrapolated that out for the amount of years that the program's in place for what we would have expected, if nothing else changed.
So that expected expenditure is not something that would appear in, say, our budget, correct?
No.
No.
It's a way to measure the cost of energy.
Just here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And the savings adjusted for weather and price fluctuation, that comes from the software?
Correct.
And is that energy cap that is listed in the next one? So we pay for that every single year, we pay for access to that software?
Yes.
Okay.
Approximately $2,093 a year.
Now, the program itself, what does it actually entail? I didn't get that from this presentation. It's just cultural thing? Is that correct?
Yep. Jim can talk about
Yes.
it a little bit more, but it's the cultural. It's turning things on and making sure they're off.
He goes into the buildings and makes sure that everything turns everything off.
So before we started the program, you would go by one of our schools, and if you had a classroom, a computer lab, you drove by and you looked. As you drive by, you looked in the window, and I'll tell you this, back when we had a lot of Apple computers, you'd see all these amoebas like at every desk. Well, we don't have that many apples left, but hopefully you don't see any lights anywhere in the room. So it was the idea of getting into the culture of the teacher in the last class of the day. Turn off all your computers, turn off the monitors, turn off the printers. And it sounds simple, but it takes work.
Yeah, it's multifaceted. We could give you example after example after example.
That's not the question. What you asked what the software does. What that software does is
Both.
Yeah.
The whole
What that
program.
software does is we put all the utility bills in there, the degree days go in there, the heat goes in there, so they can actually tell, right? That's the question.
Okay, yeah, so, and all that information is pulled daily from, I think it's now called Bridgeport Airport. I always call it Scorch Airport, over at Stratford. That's the closest NOAA station. So all that, the degree days and everything gets pulled in daily. So while I submit the bills in monthly, because that's how they come, it has, you know, the whole days, it has every day that I'm putting in, it has the degree days. So it makes all the changes from that information. So if we have a particularly warm, and it's tough for me to go into it right, you know, because it takes so long to explain this, but if you have a particularly warm month, you know, the simple thing is the gas shouldn't have been running as much. So the program can tell you that compared to last year or the year before or the year before, you should have spent this amount of money or this many CCFs in gas. And hopefully we came in lower. I mean, that's our goal, is to come in lower.
So if it tells you that if your expenses are higher than they should be, it presumably tells you why?
Well, it doesn't really tell us why, but it's you know, then we can look building to building, and then I'll tell you what, a lot of times, more so when we're doing water, but a lot of times when we go out and start looking at the building, and we have found this at a couple buildings where our heat was stuck on and we didn't even realize it.
It'll show an anomaly in the bill. That'll
Right.
tell me, hey, we got to drill down and see what's going on in this issue right
So
here.
from there, I take that to Pat, and I say, you know, here's what I'm seeing on the computer, here's what I'm seeing when I'm in the building or feeling in the building, and then from there, he figures out what's really going on and how to fix it.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Ms. Federico?
Oh, thank you. The electric comparison, where it's comparing the usage, the kilowatt hours, and then the same for the gas. Just a question on the expected column of those graphs. It's, I'm sorry, page 2 and 3. Is the expected column the same as 2009, 2010, just like you've done with the dollars?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And then on the solar, I know we've been talking about that project for a while, so I'm just curious, when did we actually get the approvals from the P&Z and the Board of Aldermen? Was it?
Yeah, we received approvals for 3 of the schools in, I want to say, April.
Okay.
And the other 4 schools in May, that time frame of 2017. But it was late winter, early spring.
Okay, yeah, I was just looking for a ballpark.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And were there any concerns raised there, or any?
Not
pushback,
at
or-
the planning and zoning or board of alderman level, no.
Okay, okay, good. And then on the slide about the solar, it says we're gonna purchase the energy at a reduced cost.
Mhm.
Do we have a sense of what that cost is and how it compares to what we're paying today?
We do. We know what the cost is gonna be. But the cost will fluctuate based upon what the costs that we're paying for UI. And then there's other charges, and I always get mixed up between the transmission charges and the delivery charges, distribution charges. So there's still costs that we're gonna have that are outside the just solar, producing the solar energy. But we should.
We'll have a list of that, of those charges.
I'm sorry, what?
We can get a list of those charges with the kilowatts too.
Okay. With
Yep.
current and
Correct.
with the solar? That'd be great. Thank you.
Other questions? Mrs. Pinzens?
Yes, regarding the LED overhaul for Foreign Law, Harborside, and East Shore, there was in the end, roughly $98,000 budget allotment for that took place, it sounds like, over 2 budget years, 50,000 and 50,000. How many years can you roll over budget money like that?
Normally, you don't. At the end of a fiscal year, the money comes to. But if we cut a purchase order to a company at the end of a fiscal year, it can be carried over until that project is completed. And that's what we did. We took the money from 16-17 and cut a purchase order in June and combined it with a purchase order from July of 2017 from the 17-18 budget.
Gotcha. And I did have another question. After the 20-year lease is up for the solar, do we just incur now all of the, I mean, I've looked into solar for my house, so I know that they kind of pay you basically, and you fuel the neighborhood essentially. So does that mean that we would no longer, well, maybe you can explain what happens after the 20 years is up?
At the end of the 20 years, we can, they can be removed from our buildings, or we have a an option to purchase them. And it's based upon a capitalized price that will be calculated in the 20th year. You know, I would just say that, you know, it's just conjecture on my part, but in 20 years, I think there's going to be huge advancements in electric or you know, energy consumption and electric generation. So, you know, I don't know what the value of solar is going to be 20 years from now. Nobody does. But right now, we can save money, and we believe. And this is the best way that we felt moving forward, especially with no capital outlay on the part of the board.
Right. And my last question is, in terms of the integrity of those roofs that you're planning on doing currently, they didn't seem to include the newest of them, though. Do we project that they will be sound for the next 20 years?
Yeah, no, excellent question. That's why this is a perfect time to do them, because all of the roofs on the schools that we're doing right now have been redone over the past 5 years, okay, with all the 8 elementary schools in the last 2 years. So there's a structural load that those roofs have anyway, but before they put anything up there, there will be engineering drawings, and the other thing is the warranties that are on the roofs. These will not be compromised. The warranties will not be compromised by these installations going up there.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. DeYoung?
First of all, this program, the Synergistic program, is incredible. And it's a testament to conservation. Question is, the savings is like skyrocketing every year. Do you anticipate that plateauing at some point?
It does indeed. There is going to be a place where it levels off, and then it'll be, my job then becomes to maintain it at that level.
Right, okay.
So.
And then my other question was about the solar. Those are being installed, I assume, during when school is in session?
Yes, because of the timing. We had hoped that we would get them in the summer, but we were still working on the contract. So yes, there'll be when school's in session, but we've talked to them, and there's no issues with them going up. It's a very clean installation.
Okay.
And if there is, we can always ask them to do it after school's over.
Sure.
We can have them do hours that are off school hours.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have the academic calendar.
We do. So what is being brought before you is the first reading on this calendar. And this is revised from what was sent to you in the packet. I apologize for that. Let me just say, for the new board members, you may not be aware, but 2+ years ago, the legislature passed a law that mandated a regional calendar. Every district is part of a regional educational service center, so there's like 6 or 7 across the state, and we belong to what's called ACES, the Area Cooperative Educational Service Center, which is located in Hamden, and I believe there are about almost 30 districts that are part of that regional center. So the state mandated, the legislature mandated that a regional calendar be developed out of these regional educational service centers. So the calendar for the last 2 years reflects this regional calendar. So lo and behold, there must have been so much pushback on the legislature because in the springtime, they abandoned the mandate for the regional calendar. So, but at the same time, what the Area Cooperative Educational Service did, ACES, what they did was they still went ahead and created a regional calendar knowing that it's not mandated. And remember, there's a board of directors on that vote on this. There's a representative from every one of the districts on that board. So it was approved. And so we took a look at the regional calendar and said to ourselves, well, are we gonna now change the calendar again? Or do we stay with the regional calendar, given the fact that in 2 programs, in our programs, for example, the ECA, which is the Educational Center for the Arts, it's a half-day program that's run by ACES that a number of our students participate in. Do we change the calendar knowing that that might affect those kids? We also thought in terms of would we want to have pretty much the same vacation, like the same April vacation for the 30 districts that are involved in this with ACES? Or do we want to, go solo? So we took a lot of that into consideration, and what we decided to do is basically to remain faithful to ACES's regional calendar, with one exception, and that is the February vacation. ACES's calendar for the last 2 years has been that the day that would be get off for the President's Day weekend would be Tuesday. So you'd have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We changed it to Friday, and the reason that we changed it back to Friday is because several years ago we did a survey of parents. This is when we were looking for days to add in so that our students would be in school, so we could shorten the year in light of the fact that we had 13 snow days one day, 10 another year, 8 another year, etc. The overwhelming choice on the part of parents and teachers was to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we thought, okay, in deference to that, what it was prior to 2 years ago, we moved to recommending that we would have the President's Day be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. The other piece that I want to speak with you about is that we made the decision that we wanted to stay with the full week of school for the opening of school. Prior to the mandated calendar, we were in school for 3 days. The regional calendar came around 2 years ago, and it was 5 days, and I can remember being on a phone call with superintendents from across the region, and I was arguing for 3 days, and I got shot down so quickly. I mean, it was just almost universal that it would be a 5-day week that would begin. And in fact, in preparation for tonight's meeting, Mrs. Griffin canvassed, the South Central districts, heard back from 25 districts. Of the 25 districts, 21 of them are going with the full week of school. So we kept the full week in. However, what we are recommending, which is not on this, we want to talk about kindergarten and do a modification around kindergarten. Because the one piece of information that came back from teachers across the district was that the full week of school was really tough on kindergarten children. They're just limp by the time Friday rolls around. And I know that there are districts that stagger their kindergarten children to come in. So what we did was we asked the elementary principals, would you think about this and what do you think is best? And those of you who are new, you need to understand that we have an orientation for kindergarten children we've had it before school opens, and it's always fallen on one of the professional development days at the opening of the school year. So what we said to the elementary principals is there a way, for example, during the first week of school, that kindergarten children would not come in full-time until Wednesday of that first week, so come in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and have their orientation Tuesday, which is in that first full week of school. So kindergarten children would come in with their parents, they have an orientation, you know, with the principal, et cetera. They can meet their teacher, go down to the classroom, et cetera, and they get to go on the bus, so they get their first bus ride. And then the next day, Wednesday, they come in for the first day of school. The other kids, 1 through 5, will have been in school for 2 days. So anyways, we put this out, the elementaries went ahead and met, and then they sent back to me their information. They were very excited about thinking about what it would do to be able to have the kindergarten children come in on Wednesday. What it would mean is that by Friday, they're not limp. You know, the kids could handle the 3 days. But they were equally excited about the thought of having the orientation the day before they actually started, and not having to pull kindergarten teachers out of professional learning for the orientation the week before. So what we're suggesting, although it's not written in here, is that there would be the full day of school at the first week, beginning on April, like what it is, the 27th, I think it is.
August 27th.
Am I correct here?
August
I'm sorry, April, hello, okay. August 27th, I had the date correct. Would be the first day of school for grades 1 through 5. August 28th would be an orientation for kindergarten children, and we've already run this by Judy Mesodilidis in the transportation office. All 8 schools can have their orientation at the same time on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. And so then they can go on their bus ride, they can, you know, principals can meet with the children, with parents. Children can go down to their classroom, see where their classroom is, they can meet their teacher, et cetera. So they have this orientation on Tuesday morning, and then they come for the full day on Wednesday. Some of them riding the bus, and some of them being dropped off. So that's, and as I said, the elementary principals we're thrilled, and we can make it happen with no interruptions whatsoever. And we think it will be a win-win for everybody. So that's it. And I'll be glad to answer any other details. What we did check with respect to April vacation, because that's always dicey. So right now, we know that ACES, their calendar, is taking the week of the 15th of April, which also includes Good Friday. I'm correct, right? And then we also checked with Fairfield County. There's a number of districts that haven't finalized theirs, but we did talk with the Regional Education Center in Fairfield County, and their April vacation is the same as this. That's really important because we also have kids who go to Bridgeport for the aquaculture program, half day. We also have kids going to Trumbull for the VOAG, and we have kids going to Fairchild Wheeler, and you know, kids also go to the Discovery Center. So my point is that we have kids that go to in Fairfield County, and over and over and over again, their vacation is not the same as ours. There's still no guarantee, but the fact that the regional calendar coming out of the Capital Educational, not Capital, the CES. They all have different acronyms. Cooperative Educational Services is going to be this week. We're kind of hopeful, and it benefits immensely so that kids have the same vacations, parents are not dealing with Milford has vacation, and meanwhile their children are going into Bridgeport for a particular program. This is what we were trying to do in creating this calendar. I'll stop there.
So are there questions or comments? Ms. Pinsons?
I have a quick comment about the kindergarten. I think another added benefit to that is you can get the older kids situated, and you know, the day running smoothly for Wednesday, so the kindergartners are not dealing with all the other kids, kind of in a mess. So they get to see a well-oiled machine by Wednesday. So I think that would be good.
Mr. DeYoung?
Two dates that I want to ask you about. The first one is, now that the February dates have been changed, the half-day on Wednesday. And I know that most of the early dismissals are on Wednesday. Is it possible to move that to Thursday so you don't have a half-day smack dab in the middle of the week, then a full day, and then no school?
Well, we always hold the early dismissals on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
That's just been customary, that all of them throughout the year, they're always a Wednesday afternoon. Our contractually, with respect to working with the unions, it's the designated early release day.
Mhm.
The times are set, so.
So if I could piggyback off of that, I was wondering if you have any concerns regarding an early release day being so close to like other days off. So in this instance, you know, it's an early release day the same week as the 15th is off. October 3rd comes very close to having 3 weeks in a row where there's a day off. And it, you know, may not be a concern, but I guess, you know, the question is, would maybe moving the Wednesday to like the 10th of October, or moving the 13th of February down to the 27th of February, something like that, if that makes more sense, or if, I mean, if you don't think it's really an issue, then I don't have a problem with it, but it just kind of stood out to me that there were some early dismissal days that fell very close to a period of time when we didn't really have any full weeks of school.
We can certainly do that. Truthfully, this year, we had one in September, and when we went to place it in September, what we noticed is that the first 3 weeks, none of them are a full week.
Exactly.
So we moved it into October.
Right.
So we certainly could look at moving it to October 10th, and we could also look at that February date, since I see what you're saying also, we're getting off on Friday the 15th, and there it's placed that same week, so we could look at that.
So what I'm hearing is that it needs to be on a Wednesday, but you could look at maybe spreading them out a little bit more to break up the weeks when we already have a day off that are so close to the early dismissal Wednesday. Any other questions? Mr. Pulowski?
Quick question. So on the kindergartner thing, so kindergartners would have, about a day and a half less school? What would the kindergarten teachers be doing during that time?
They would be involved somewhat in some professional learning. We started to think that they always get pulled from their buildings, for example, in November for professional learning, and this way, if some of that professional learning that they normally would be pulled for could be done on part of that time. The other is it's going to enable them to do some more detailed planning. Inevitably, there's going to be some change, we anticipate, just because of teachers retiring and then people having to move buildings, et cetera. So there will be that piece that will be able to be taken care of. I mean, we're not worried about the kindergarten teachers being able to make use of that time, and we already know there's people who are saying, well, can I have a piece? Can I have an hour with them? Can I, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It might prevent them from coming in on Sunday.
So, Mr. DeYoung, did you have another question?
I just had the other piece that I wanted to ask about was the 7th of March, to have a day off in the middle of the week. Was there a reason why it's on that Thursday? Is it possible to move it to the Friday so that it's not breaking up the week?
So to be honest with you, when we have professional learning on a Friday, absenteeism increases significantly.
Even for the teachers.
So that's why we put it on Thursday.
Interesting. And there's not really a concern breaking up the week for the students, though?
Well, it was, we did it this year. Last year we did it, and it worked out well. We actually used to not have for a few years we didn't have the day in March, and that's because when all the snow days kept hitting, it was moved to the end of the year. And 2 years ago, the union came to us and said, would you consider moving it back to March? Apparently for years in this district, they always had a day in March. So we did. We thought, well, all right, let's move it back into March. And so that's why it is there. But we would not choose a Friday or a Monday.
Fair enough.
Ms. Pinsons?
Just to continue with that, I'm assuming that the November professional learning day is for the same reason on that Tuesday.
It's election day.
It's election day.
Oh, sorry.
So that's non-negotiable.
Sorry about that, guys.
Any other questions? Mr. Arnold?
What about the kindergarten? Do they need the 180 days? Or, yeah.
No.
That's what it is.
No.
Any other questions? Ms. Federico?
Thank you. One more question on the kindergarten start. Is there anything that can be done for childcare on those 2 days? I'm thinking of families who might have older siblings that normally watch or take care of their younger siblings, and then for those 2 days, the parents may not have anywhere for their children to go. So I don't know if possible, if anything could be arranged with the Y for those 2 days.
We certainly could, we could ask the why.
Okay.
We absolutely could.
Just thinking from the working mom perspective.
No, I hear you. I do.
Well, and to add to that, I know the Boys and Girls Club took on a lot of the West Shore kids when,
They did.
so maybe they would be a good resource. I'm not sure if they'd be up for that. But.
Any other questions? So we do our calendar in a 2 reading process as well, so it'll come back with any modifications at the January business meeting when we would actually adopt it.
I'm sorry, can I
Yes.
ask one more question?
Sure.
Before we actually vote, will this be released?
I'm sorry?
Before we actually vote, will this be shared with the public?
Well,
Part of our packet.
yes, well, first of all, it's already in the packet up on the website.
Right,
But
right.
we certainly can do that. I'll send it out to the parent advisory, which is the presidents of the PTAs, so that they have it.
And will it include the kindergarten change?
Yes.
Okay.
It's also been noted, the packet, and I think a notation of what we would be discussing goes out in the Friday,
Yes,
the Friday
that's what I was
e-blast,
thinking of.
the
Yeah.
email blast to
Right.
all parents. Okay, so this will be back on our January meeting. Dr. Fieser, I'm going to suggest, if the board has no objections, I'm going to ask if we could reorder the agenda. And I anticipate the policy work is going to take some time, and it's already almost 9 o'clock, and we have some other action items that we must do tonight.
Sure.
So I'm gonna, if the board has no objections, suggest that we reorder the agenda and put the policies at the end, so that if we don't have time to get to any or all of them, we can then just carry them forward to January.
Sure.
So with that said, we'll move on to item number 5, which is our meeting schedule.
So the meeting schedule that you have before you is, this is a requirement that we bring this before you. And this is for the entire year beginning January 1st. There is one date that was an oversight, and that is Monday, September 10th, is Rosh Hashanah. And we have, when there is no school, the board does not meet, so that date should be the 11th of September. And we'll make that correction Tuesday.
It's on Tuesday, yes, right?
Correct.
Okay, this is, again, something that we do have to approve today, because this has to be filed with the state. And once this is filed with the state, these become our regularly scheduled meetings for the calendar year of 2018. Are there any questions on this? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask Ms. Federico for a motion to approve this.
I make a motion that the Milford Board of Education approves the 2018 Board of Education meeting schedule as amended and forwarded to the city clerk.
Second that?
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
The next item on the agenda, do you want to just go straight through this?
Yes, please.
The Human Resources Report, Mrs. Capasra?
Thank you, Dr. Fieser. So each month I report on various items, and what I do is I list through the job postings, personnel recommendations, which would be all the new hires, retirements, resignations, and terminations, and stipend appointments. I will point out for you, just so you know, the job postings, this is a snapshot in time. So the day that I did this report, which was, I think, last Tuesday or Wednesday, this is what was posted and open and available, but today it could be quite different. Postings can close and come off of this and go into review, and new postings are obviously put up as needed. So I just wanted to mention that. Personnel recommendations, these were all our new hires for the past month. Retirements, resignations, and terminations. I will tell you that we did have a retirement. This was a mid-year retirement, third one down. But since that time, in our MEA, our teacher contract, we have a early notice incentive for teachers that are gonna be retiring in June. This only applies for end-of-year retirements. But if they let us know by December 15th, they'll get an additional $500 in addition to whatever severance they're entitled to. So I'll report periodically between now and June how many retirements we have. But I will tell you that I think since I've done this report, 3 people have told me that they're retiring, just to, if they know, it's good for us to know, and that's why it was put into the contract. So we can begin our staffing earlier, at least start thinking about what we're going to do to replace some of these teachers that have been around a long time and are in shortage areas, et cetera. And then lastly, after that, stipend appointments, there's not many this month, but in the beginning of the school year, you'll see quite a bit in September and October. Not too exciting this month, but if anyone has any questions.
Questions for Ms. Pasna? Mr. Pawlowski?
Is it common for 5 resignations at this time of year?
Let me take a look and see where they are. Lunch aide, paraprofessional, 3 lunch aides, 1 paraprofessional, an occupational therapist. Yeah, that's pretty common. I mean, if there were 5 teacher retirements, I'd be very concerned, but, you know, with the staff of about, 1,200 employees, it does happen.
Did they have any, like, reasons that stood out or anything, or?
Nothing to speak of, no, not this one.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay,
Next
thank you.
item is the disbursement report, Mr. Richard Kelly.
Thank you, Dr. Fieser. Each month we report to you the disbursements for the district, which are any checks that are cut that are over $1,500. We give you a listing of those expenditures. So you'll see on your report any check and the account number that check was derived from and where it was going to. So this report is in your package each month for informational purposes, but I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions, Mr. Rich Kelly?
Just about the account numbers, what do they represent?
The account numbers, every expenditure that we have comes out of an account.
Okay.
And you'll see it at budget time, where we go through the budget book and there's just a listing of account after account after account. And it's broken down. We'll give you how the accounts are broken down. It starts with the year. So this current year starts with a 7, because with an 8, because it's 17-18 school year. And then there's a code for the school that it comes from and the object that it comes from. You'll see much more once we get into the budget. But the 1,000 series are wages, the 2,000 series are benefits, the 3,000 series are contractual, contracted contracts that we have. So you'll see it.
Is that documented anywhere?
It's in your budget book that you were given the
Okay.
other day. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? And yes, once we get full swing into the budget work, a lot of this will kind of start to fall into place. Too many. All right, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Ms. Federico?
I make a motion that the Milford Board of Education approves the following roof replacement projects as 100% complete. John F. Kennedy Elementary School, state project number 084-0199-RR.
Second that.
Yes, say each one.
Each one in we go all together? then?
Yes.
Okay. Meadowside Elementary School, state project number 084-0196-RR. Orange Avenue Elementary School, state project number 084-0198 RR. And Live Oaks Elementary School, state project number 084-0197 RR.
Second that.
Okay, wait a minute, we have to finish the minutes too, everything goes together.
Oh, okay. And also that we approve the consent agenda items, the consideration of minutes from the November 13th, 2017 business meeting, November 27th, 2017 committee of the whole meeting, November 27th, 2017 special meeting, December 5th, 2017 special meeting.
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, motion to adjourn into executive session, Ms. Federico.
I make a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purpose of discussing the salary adjustments for non-union employees. Invited into the executive session will be Dr. Feaser, Mr. Riccitelli, and Ms. Capasno.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. At 9:07, we are going into executive session. We are going to go down to the Learning Center for the executive session. And then we have to come back here for any action. So we can leave non-done.
Conference room.
Can we have a quick recess?
We're
expecting to recess, but
Yes,
can we have
you
a
want to
few
go down?
minutes?
Yeah, sure. You want to go
Five extra minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm doing the
Yeah.
same.
Yes.
That water's getting to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deal with that. Too much noise, too much. And you're stealing all of my food. Although you did try, in fairness, you tried to take. Yeah,
Is that where you'd like to go?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry? Should you take what? No. No. I think we just took them that time so that Floyd would, no, he was talking about. Are you responsible for the treats, Pam?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're fine.
I know, right?
Just to make sure.
Oh, the treats from Pam.
Oh.
No, no, I'm so not ready. Yes, truck keeps coming to my house.
Yeah, I know. I know, those are so good.
So,
Yep.
at this point, session happens.
We are going into executive session to discuss the agenda item, which is on some salaries, and then we have to come back and vote on that, and then finish whatever, I'm not sure how much of the policy work will get done, it depends on how long
Now, is that
people.
everyone that breaks into executive
Yes,
session?
we all do.
Okay.
Yep.
And what are required materials for this?
Just well, I would bring your packet, because there's, at the
Okay.
back of the packet, there is a, some information that was.
Sure.
That we need.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
are they gonna be coming back into this room?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
I should hang out.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Hopefully we won't be too long, but
Okay.
you never know.
No worries.
to public session. Okay. Ms. Federico, do you have a motion, please?
Yes, I do. I make a motion that the Milford Board of Education approves the sum of $61,780 to be used for salary increases for non-union employees at the discretion of the superintendent for the year 2018-2019.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Second by Mr. Fermender. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we are going to carry forward the 4 policies for first reading to the January business meeting. Due to the lateness of the hour, we're gonna forego that agenda item until January. So we will move on to board comment. Does anybody have any board comment this evening? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you so much, and have a wonderful holiday, everybody.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
See everybody next year.